Hello, my dear friends. How are you doing? Hope you are having an amazing day. Ready for new stories I have for you today? Let's go to the first one, about pregnant OP, whose husband had an affair and got his mistress pregnant as well, and now is leaving OP for her. But he wants to be in the delivery room when OP will be giving birth. But guess who he wants to bring to the hospital as well? Buckle up, as it's a long one, and of course, listen to the end of the story to hear my insights. Enjoy the stories, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And of course, don't forget to leave a comment. My soon-to-be ex-husband and I have been married for 10 years and have a 6-year-old son. I'm currently 8 months pregnant. When I told my husband I was pregnant, he seemed happy. In fact, for the next month, he treated me better than he had been treating me lately, which has included snapping, "Don't talk to me right now," whenever he walks in the door after work, throwing me under the bus by making me the butt of every joke in public, and getting so mad during an argument about him taking a day off work to go to our son's school's parent orientation that he broke a vintage tennis racket on display in our house and told me to shut up. My husband works in venture capital, and I work as a copywriter and have been working as a contractor instead of a W-2 ever since my son was born. He travels extensively, so I always thought that it was just his job giving him a lot of stress. To be fair to him, there is a winner-takes-all mentality, very competitive mentality that his field encourages. Plus, everybody is always lying to each other, it seems. However, about 3 months ago, I realized that the reason he has been so snappish was at least in part because he was having an affair. He dropped the bombshell that his mistress, 26 female, had been pregnant and gave birth to their son, and he was going to do the right thing by her and marry her. He admitted that he had been seeing her for around 3 years before she got pregnant, and even worse, he had already been promoting her and her business idea on LinkedIn, and now I feel so stupid for not seeing the signs, because her company is far from the high-tech stuff he usually invests in. I suspect he invested in it privately as well. He ended up leaving that day and had me served the day after. I find out that he had already cleared out a lot of our other bank accounts to the maximum extent allowed of a spouse under the laws of our state. But worse than him blindsiding me with all of this during my pregnancy is the fact that since he walked out, he has barely seen our son. Even on the days he promised our son he would take him out, he would end up not showing up and saying he had to do this or that for the new baby. At this tender age, I was at a loss about how to tell my son what was happening. I ended up having to tell him that he had a new half-brother and that there would be a new, extra friend for him now. However, when my son finally went over to his dad's new place with his now fiancée, he came home crying, saying that his dad's new friend yelled at him. My soon-to-be ex said that his fiancée didn't want our son to touch the baby, and he agrees because the baby has delicate health. After that, my soon-to-be ex seemed to avoid our son even more. My soon-to-be ex called me the other day and said that he may have done some things the wrong way, and he is sorry if it looks like he doesn't care about the baby I'm going to have. He told me that he wanted to be there for the birth, if I will forgive him enough to set aside our impending divorce. I called him back a few hours later and said that I did not know if I wanted him in the delivery room, but if he wanted to be right outside of the room and come in to meet the baby afterwards, I would be fine with it, and that I wouldn't keep him from seeing the baby during our hospital stay either. He says thank you for not punishing him via our baby, but then adds that his fiancée says that she's not comfortable with him going alone to the hospital and being away from her and her baby for hours. She said that she doesn't trust him around me and is suspicious about why he had a sudden change of heart when she thought he would only see the baby after I got home to the hospital and he had free time. Because of her mistrust, she is insisting that she be right next to him for the length of my labor. If he ends up going into the delivery room for any reason during or after labor, she demands to be allowed in as well. I was very shocked to hear that somebody he obviously chose over me in the biggest way, and who he seems to be willing to do anything for, and who once reminded me that she is 15 years younger, is so insecure about him seeing me during labor. I finally bite the bullet and reach out to her to know if this was for real, and she texts back saying that she wants to foster a good relationship between my kids and their family, but that, sorry, she is a trust but verify type of person and needs to be there. She also said that she wanted to bring flowers to the hospital, but she felt that was unacceptable. I circle back to my soon-to-be ex, and he said that this is her line in the sand, and that if I didn't like her, they could stay outside for her labor, But if he visits me to see the baby, she wants to at least hang back by the door. He said she promises she will not be there to gloat or anything. What do I do? I actually considered allowing him to be in the room when I was delivering to honor the fact that this is his child. But to have somebody who I barely know and who my son is very on the edge about near me during my most vulnerable moments, when my pregnancy has been so hard, is more than I can handle. What do I do? My mother will be in the room, and my son will be in to visit post-birth. His parents also want to visit, and his father has a problem with his new fiancée. So that is just so much organizing and drama when I just want to be with my son and enjoy the last stretch of my pregnancy in peace. Personally, I'd tell them to kick rocks. I find it highly ironic that his mistress doesn't trust him enough to see his own baby born. Karma is a B. I know OP wants to keep the peace, but does she seriously think it's a good idea to allow her to dictate ultimatums that affect OP? Does she really wish to give her that much control over the situation and OP's life and family? That is a 26-year-old entitled child, in my opinion, trying to control the narrative of the relationship. OP's husband needs to keep her in line. He is the one that caused this chaos. OP needs to do what is best for her, her family, and that unborn child. OP will be under enough stress and does not need more drama. And now let's hear if the community agrees with me. Crystal Queen 3000 says, "Tell him to duck off. It's a medical procedure, and you'll be at your most vulnerable. The absolute tool put your health at risk for 3 years doing his side piece raw, and has imploded your life with his ducking around. His mistress is worried because she knows he cheats. Duck her feelings too. She has zero right to be anywhere near your delivery." Natural Disc 6661 says, "This is crazy town. I personally wouldn't allow this random girl in my room, or near me, or my children, period. She's bananas, and it's not going to work out between them anyway." Cookie Today says, "Tell him to go to hell, and that while you have to, unfortunately, deal with him because of the children, you absolutely don't have to deal with her, and you won't accept his mistress in your hospital room or your home. And if he wants to see his child, he'll have to do it without her. And tell him that if he insists with this ridiculous and pathetic idea, he'll have to go to court to settle the matter. Tell him that his problems aren't yours, and you don't care at all to make his controlling side chick comfortable." Just a little backstory before I deep dive into this situation. My mother-in-law has never liked me and has never been shy about verbally expressing these feelings. I'm not sure why she doesn't approve of me. I own my own successful bakery, keep a clean house, and am 100% devoted to my dear husband, who I've been with for 5 years, married 3. I'm convinced she dislikes me because I'm not the woman she wanted him to marry. Also, I'm 6 months pregnant with our first child. Now, on with the situation. Every year for Christmas, dear husband and I spend Christmas Eve with my family and Christmas Day with his. This year, my mother-in-law called to inform my dear husband that both of my brother-in-laws and my sister-in-law were going to be there with their families, and since it was the first time in 6 years that she had all of her children and grandchildren under one roof, she was going to do a big Christmas meal. She went on to state that all 3 of my sister-in-laws were bringing a food item to add to the meal. I asked, "Is anyone bringing desserts? I can make a few pies, some cookies, and a couple of cakes for dessert if that would help." She said in a surprised tone, "Oh, OP, I didn't know you were there and I was on speakerphone. But no, I'm going to do some desserts myself." She immediately went into passive mode, answering dear husband's questions with simple answers, like they were all in top secret info now. Fast forward a week later, Christmas Day. We are headed to the in-laws for the dinner, gifting. My dear husband gets a phone call from his younger brother, who immediately asks him to take off speakerphone. I think maybe his wife got me a gift and they are discussing it without ruining it. But after hearing my dear husband's aggravated tone, I realized that wasn't the case. He hung up as we were pulling into the mother-in-law's driveway and said, "We're going in, giving the gifts out, eating, and leaving." I asked, "What was wrong?" He replied, "Mom invited X to Christmas." We get inside, place all of our gifts down in the pile. I greet my dear husband's siblings and their spouses, who I get along with very well and actually enjoy spending time with. In the middle of doing so, my mother-in-law walks in from the kitchen with a woman I had never met before, and greeted my husband while ignoring my existence. The woman I never met before greets my husband and I both, before mother-in-law mentions in an obnoxious tone, "Yeah, X was in town finalizing the sale of her house, so I invited her to dinner. She brought a cake and some sweets." I kind of just blended in with the crowd, choosing to hide in conversation with my sister-in-laws rather than listen to my mother-in-law. After this exchange between dear husband and mother-in-law, dear husband approached me asking if I was okay. I said yeah, and that I would be fine. Now it's time to eat. We sit down, eat, and desserts being passed around. My mother-in-law insists that dear husband tries a slice of cake, and I'm assuming to avoid conflict, he agreed very reluctantly. He took 3 bites, and the following exchange ensued. Dear husband: "You got any milk, Mom? It's a little dry." "OP, what's that thing you told me to do to keep cake from drying out?" The look on mother-in-law's face was that of pure anger, and before I could answer, mother-in-law said, "It's not dry. It's probably one of the best tasting cakes I've had in a long time." Oldest brother-in-law: "I don't know, Mom. I could use some milk too." Mother-in-law: "Oh, you boys stop it. Quit trying to make her think the cake isn't good. Now finish it so we can open gifts." The rest of the meal was uneventful. Skip to gifts. Every time my mother-in-law would go to hand a niece or nephew a gift from us, she would say, "Oh, this one's from dear husband and OP," while enthusiastically announcing other gifts' origins. And not surprisingly, she had gifts for everyone, including X, but not me, which didn't really bother me. Shortly after gifts, dear husband walked into the kitchen for scissors and was followed by mother-in-law and X. I waited 30 seconds and went into the kitchen myself, cause even though it's Christmas and it's his mom's house, that's still my husband, and I'll absolutely gift you these hands if you try to mess with him, especially when an X is involved. Soon as I entered the kitchen, I guess he can't have the big boy conversations without his overseer here. To which my dear husband responded, "What do you mean, Mom? You've been here the whole time." This caused her to storm out in a huff with X in tow. Dear husband said, "Get your stuff, say goodbye, we're leaving." She wouldn't even look at me as we said goodbye. This woman has been like this for 5 years, but never has she invited an X to a family function. Dear husband told her this morning we probably wouldn't be back to her house for a while after Christmas, which she naturally blamed me for, because I told him he couldn't spend time with his family, which I've never not once said. Hopefully the time apart helps her come to terms with our relationship, and maybe I can have a good relationship with the woman who gave birth to my dear husband. Edit. We only go for the in-laws that aren't her. We enjoy the father-in-law, brother-in-laws, sister-in-laws, and nieces and nephews. It would be more unfair to my husband having to miss out on the family we do get along with, just because she thinks she hurts my feelings. Sometimes you just gotta dig around the bad apple in the bunch. Pixie1184 says, "You might want to have a conversation with mother-in-law about what Christmas could be like in the future with his family. She isn't going to change, but her behavior is going to become a problem after your child is born. Kids ask questions. Why didn't mom get a gift? Why does grandma ignore you? She may also treat your child differently. It is awesome how the rest of the family shuts her down. Usually everyone lets that behavior for mother-in-law slide. Both of you should think about if you want her even holding your baby. A baby tends to make parents protective. Your feelings can change, and that's okay." I'll Contribution 5119 says, "It's easy to disprove her theory that you're keeping him from the family. Start hosting his family for dinners every few months, but without her. They don't have to be complicated. Game nights work too. Coffee and cake, unless they live hours away. Then it would be more difficult. But putting the invites out there still disproves her statement that you are the one keeping him away." Wagglewop says, "This is a garbage person. I would stop going to her house and invite the in-laws that you like to your place, minus mother-in-law. Watch out for love bombing from her as the birth of your baby gets near. She is only doing it to gain access to little one." My sister Anna has a daughter, Piper, 16 female. Anna is married to Gavin and has a stepdaughter, Hazel, 16 female. Anna and Gavin have been together for 6 years and married for 4. Both girls live with Anna and Gavin full-time, due to Piper's dad being deceased and Hazel's mom being a deadbeat. Hazel sees Piper as her sister, while Piper does not return the sentiment and really doesn't seem to like her very much. She's fine with her, but doesn't like to hang out with her and always seems to see spending time with Hazel as a chore. This could be in part because ever since they moved in together, Anna and Gavin have decided they will do certain things together every week, and they do not get to say no to it. Hazel loves it, but Piper hates it. Both girls love The Hunger Games. Piper has read all the novels, including the newest one. Hazel is yet to read the latest novel. The girls also love the movies, and so Anna and Gavin decided they would see the new movie together. Piper said she wanted to go with her friends, but Anna told her she would go with her sister. Piper went to see it with her friends anyway, and Anna found out. She asked Piper why, and Piper told her she wanted to go with her friends. She wanted to enjoy seeing the movie and not be stuck with a burden while watching it. Anna decided to ground Piper and told her she will learn to love and appreciate her sister, or she will end up grounded a lot until she moves out. Anna was annoyed that instead of being apologetic, Piper just complied and has not shown any appreciation for Hazel since. She was telling me all this, and I sarcastically told her that it's sure to help her family punishing Piper for going to the movie without Hazel, when she has been telling her for a while in different ways that she doesn't like Hazel. I also made a comment that forced proximity always makes relationships so much better. Anna told me I wasn't a parent of teens, so I didn't get it, and it was rude to sarcastically talk about her parenting. Am I the a-hole? Not for comment, Inogu says. The beatings will continue until morale improves, right? Every day on this sub, there's some parent trying to force their kids to love their new blended families. Love your stepfather, love your stepsister, or else. And your sister is a classic example. However desperately she wants to create a Hallmark Walton's Brady Bunch family, she needs to back off and accept that may never happen. Accept that they will relate to each other the way they want, and she can't make them love each other by forcing them to spend time together. Not the a-hole for speaking some home truths to her. Fide says, not the a-hole. You told the truth. Forcing it will only make it worse. These kind of things are pretty normal in my opinion. I didn't like my biological, so little bit different, sister till I was 20. Now we do just fine. Hazel should accept that Piper's not too interested in bonding, and your sister should accept that too. Time will tell, but I think their bond will come. Bad Bandit 1970 says, not the a-hole. When Piper cuts and runs when she turns 18, Anna will have no one else to blame but herself. You can't force a relationship, and that's what they're doing.